I have had several near-death experiences in my life. Many strange things have happened to me as well. The first time happened when I was 5 years old. I did not have a happy childhood. My mother died while giving birth to me. Then my father married my current stepmother. I was often abused by my stepmother. I would often hear the voice of an old man. He often comforted me. He also liked to sing to me. I told my father about the experience and he thought it was something I had imagined. But I knew it was real because I could see him. He wore a fisherman's hat and a pair of boots. We played together a lot. He was my best friend. One day, a jet plane flew low over the roof. The sound of the plane was so loud that I was terrified. I was curious and walked out into the yard. My friend made me stop and told me to look up at the sky. He asked me, "What do you see?" I told him that I saw blue sky and white clouds. He waved his hand and replied, "Look again." This time I saw a beautiful place with mountains and water, and trees and flowers. The colors were very bright and clear. I had never seen such a sight before. They were so pure, as if they had not been polluted in any way. The people there were very happy. Then my friend waved his hand once more. A new sight appeared. I saw black smoke, demolished buildings, and human warfare. It was the exact opposite of the first sight. My friend told me that humans need to make choices on Earth. We can love each other, and the first vision can become reality. If we hate each other, the earth will be destroyed at the hands of mankind. The choice is entirely in our hands. I told my father what I had seen. My father acted impatient. When I was 20 years old, my father died. When I helped him pack his things, I saw a picture of his father. I found out that my childhood friend was my grandfather. In the photo he was wearing a fisherman's hat and a pair of boots on his feet. I also found his death certificate. He had died before I was born. My grandmother used to tell me that I reminded her of my grandfather. Throughout my life, my grandmother and I were very close. The second experience happened when I was 12 years old and I was swimming in the pond behind our house. My grandmother, who couldn't swim, was standing at the water's edge watching me. I decided to show off, so I swam to the center of the pond, where the water was very deep. Suddenly, my calves cramped up and I slowly began to sink to the bottom of the water. I couldn't see the sunlight overhead anymore. Darkness surrounded me and I sank deeper and deeper. I couldn't keep breathing. I felt like my lungs were about to burst. But finally I gave in and I sucked a mouthful of water from my nostrils and it flowed down my throat. I felt no pain. I swallowed another mouthful of water. As the water entered my throat, I felt relief. I kept sucking in water and my lungs no longer felt pain. I watched as a bright white light came out of my chest. The white light floated on the surface of the water. When I looked down, I could see my body. My body was no longer moving. After I left my body, I no longer felt pain and I was now not afraid at all. I hear the voice of a lady. I had heard her voice when I was abused by my stepmother as a child. I just remember her saying to me, "I have a lot of work to do on earth and I have to get back into my body." I felt my body fill with power and I flew out of the water. I swam to the shore. My grandmother was very angry and shouted at me on the way home. She said I had been in the water too long. My last experience happened when I was 25 years old. I was very sick with some flu-like symptoms. I was getting ready to go to the bathroom when I passed out and I collapsed on the bedroom floor. I don't know how long it took, but I felt like I was floating on the ceiling of my bedroom. I saw my wife calling my name from beside my body. I said to her, "It's okay, I'm fine, I'm on top of you. Look up at the ceiling." I couldn't understand why she couldn't hear me. I noticed a round black hole in the ceiling. I was curious. So I walked in. I saw a very small waiting room, which was so dark I couldn't see anything. After a few minutes, a force pulled me deeper. The passage wasn't as dark as the waiting room. Suddenly, a group of dark shadows came toward me, and they turned into people in old-fashioned clothing. As the men stood in front of me, they called out my name. They explained that they were all my relatives. There was no need to be afraid, but I didn't recognize any of them, and they welcomed my arrival. My relatives were talking to each other. Two of the men decided to walk with me through the tunnel so I wouldn't be afraid. My other relatives disappeared before my eyes. I walked between these two men and they were talking to each other. It seemed like they hadn't seen each other in a long time. After walking some distance, one of the men said, "You will have to walk alone the rest of the way." Then the two men also disappeared. I felt a little panic. I found a small white dot the size of a pinhead. All my intuition told me to walk toward that light. As I approached the light, it got bigger and bigger. I walked for a long, long time, but I was still far away from it. I heard a man's voice say, "Don't go any further in." I stopped immediately. I saw a very distinct line at my feet. On the opposite side of this line, the tunnel was getting brighter and brighter in color. At that moment, my intuition told me not to cross this line. I noticed a white figure on the right. Who was this figure? There was no mistaking it, it was Jesus. As I stared at him, I sensed another world. I knew that was where God was. There was a familiar connection between Jesus and me. It is love that binds us together. We are all the same, yet we are different. He said to me, "You have to answer some questions in order to move on. This is what we call a life review." The first question, how have you helped others? I told something that I had done. He replied, "That's good." Second question. What have you learned in this life? I gave my answer. He replied, "That's good, but you have a lot more to learn." The third question. In what way have you given of yourself? I started to get confused. I didn't know how to answer this question. He showed me all the good and bad things that happen in life. I saw how I had hurt others, and it was very painful for me. He told me, I have to go back to Earth. I know he is right, but I want to stay here. I have many more questions for him. He told me, I could before I return to Earth. I asked him a few questions. The first question. What is this place? He said a bunch of words I couldn't understand. I thought he was speaking a foreign language. I said, God, please forgive my stupidity, please answer me in simple language. He went on to say, this tunnel leads to heaven and hell. Going up is heaven and going down is hell. God also showed me a panoramic view of the tunnel. Second question, what would it be like if I decided to stay? His answer, there are no human words to describe it. The third question. Can I go to hell and see it? His answer, yes. I flew along the tunnel and landed on a very small platform. Along with me was an angel. Although I couldn't see the angel's wings, I knew he was special and that he was there to protect me. It was so dark that I couldn't see anything. When my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I saw the figures of humans and demons below. Demons were torturing humans. I heard various screams. Satan told the ministry what to do. When Satan locked eyes with me, he ordered his hands to come down and grab me. They climbed onto the platform and tried to grab me. They could have easily grabbed me if the angels had not protected me. I began to pray to God, asking him to take me out of here. I told God that I would do whatever he wanted to do. I never wanted to see hell again, it was just too scary. Fourth question, can you show me heaven? Everything in this world is glowing. There are trees and flowers. There are also mountains and rivers. The colors are all very beautiful. The colors are the same as the colors my grandfather showed me when I was a child. These colors are very pure. It feels like everything has life. They communicate with each other by using different tones. Next, God showed me my future life. Then he said, when you return to earth, all these memories will disappear. I said, God, that's not fair. He said, after you experience something on earth, you will remember what you saw here. I went back into my body. Before I opened my eyes, I heard my wife's voice. When I opened my eyes, my wife was kneeling beside me. I told her, everything is going to be okay, don't worry. The sun shone through the window and I felt much more comfortable. I suddenly realized that whatever I had been through, it was over. There was so much my brain needed to understand. I know I will get back there someday, but for now I have a lot of regrets and I want to be there for my family. After having this experience, God asked me to go on a mission for him. At first, my missions were easy to accomplish. But as time went on, they became harder and harder, and then I became very sick and was admitted to the hospital. When I came home from the hospital, I was exhausted. I thought about all that Jesus had gone through in his life. The pain and sacrifice he went through. And how we had abandoned him. He endured so much for us, and what have we done for him? Through prayer and meditation, I started a new life. I knew how to fight the darkness with love. I didn't believe in God at first, but he protected me and kept me alive. I know a lot of people will say this didn't happen, and honestly, I don't care what other people think. I know what I have been through.